It is now week 8 of the NFL season, and in today's video, I'll be breaking down the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Cincinnati Bengals. I will break down the injuries, how the team's doing, what's the team's strengths and weaknesses, and everything you could possibly need to know. And this week, we have a good one. First off, how are the teams doing? Going into the year, both of these teams were Super Bowl favorites. Not the very favorite, but you know, the top 5, top 6 Super Bowl favorites. They were seen as very good teams, and both, I would say, have been disappointments so far this year. The Cincinnati Bengals did a historically accurate interpretation of the Cincinnati Bengals, and that is losing several games to start the year off, making everyone think, oh, is this team bad? Should we fire the coach? And then turning it around and being a pretty good team. They started out 0-3 and have gone 3-1 since then. Their wins have not been the most impressive. For example, they beat the Browns by a touchdown. They beat the Giants by about 10 points. Not very impressive. But the one loss they had over the past 4 weeks was a close loss to the Baltimore Ravens, one of the best teams in the NFL. So they are clearly heating up. The Eagles on the other side, they haven't been as clearly down and then good. They've been more like good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. But currently, 2 weeks in a row of being good. Their defense had very good performances the past 2 weeks. They haven't allowed a touchdown against either the Giants or the Browns. Now, I know. It's the Giants and the Browns. We can't give it too much credit. But no touchdowns is good. In case you're new to this whole NFL thing, you don't want to let the other team score points. It's not golf. The Eagles are 4-2 and half a game behind Washington for number 1 in the division. The Bengals on the other side are 3-4 and are a handful of games behind the Steelers and the Ravens. Looks like a really tough one for them to win the division, and they would have to turn things around now. Next up, what does Vegas think will happen? The Cincinnati Bengals are at home and are a 2.5-point favorite. A lot of people may think that the Eagles are better. I kind of went into it thinking the Eagles would be favorites, but Vegas clearly does not agree. Now, it's not like they think it's a blowout or anything. 2.5 is kind of about the standard home field advantage. They think this is a pick'em. Next, the injuries. Who's injured on each side? The Bengals don't actually have that many injuries on the team right now. They do have a few on the offensive line. For example, Orlando Brown Jr., a tackle, is questionable with a right knee sprain. It seems he's likely to play, but still not healthy. There are a few other offensive linemen that have been on injured reserve for a few weeks now. So this is not a healthy offensive line, but it's not like they've had any big injuries recently. The Eagles on the other side of the ball have some pretty major injuries, not from this week, but from the week before. They lost Jordan Mailata with a hamstring injury. He went on the IR last week. He'll be out several more weeks. He is the left tackle, one of the stalwarts of the Eagles' offensive line. Also, to a hamstring injury, Dallas Goedert, the tight end, who is severely underrated around the league, also will likely be out this week, although he is not on IR. He could come back, but it is unlikely. Next up, Mekhi Becton got a concussion against the Giants. He is questionable. Concussions a lot of the time take 2 weeks to come back, but he could come back. Unknown for now. Then finally, Zach Bond, the linebacker, had a shoulder injury and is also questionable for this week. So as you can tell, the Eagles are a little bit more banged up than the Bengals. Now to the matchup, the Eagles offense versus the Bengals defense. Of course, we'll go first because I'm an Eagles fan and I need to talk about the Eagles offense while more people are still watching this video. The most important part of the offense, of course, is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, notably, is coming off 2 straight games without a turnover. These are 2 victories that we probably, well, at least against the Browns, probably would lose if he did turn the ball over. It may sound a little ridiculous that I'm congratulating him on not turning the ball over, but for Jalen Hurts, he needs it. He needs to keep this up because he was on a long streak of interceptions and fumbles. Thankfully, 2 weeks in a row, he's just playing safe. Notably, it is the weeks with his offensive weapons, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Maybe he was just trying to do too much while they were gone, and when they're back, he'll be better. Jalen Hurts has not been throwing the ball all over the yard. For example, against the Giants, he only threw 14 passes. But he did what he needed to do. They beat the Giants 28-3. So I'm not going to get on him for that. This has not been an excellent Jalen Hurts year, but he's improving, notably through the turnovers. If he can just guide the offense down the field, it is talented enough to score on anybody. The weapons are outrageous. At wide receiver, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Enough said. Saquan Barkely. An outstanding move by Howie Roseman. Saquan Barkely runs all over everybody. He's excellent behind a good offensive line. And then, finally, last part of the offensive line, I just said it, but they've been very good this year. Even through a few injuries, this Eagles offensive line has performed as a top 5 NFL offensive line. So how will they go up against the Bengals defense? Is the Bengals defense good? No, they're not good. They're fine. They're not great. They have allowed about 24 points per game. If that doesn't mean anything to you, they're a little bit below average. They've allowed 217 passing yards and 136 rushing yards per game. Pretty much, their defensive line is not bad. They have some talent there. But you can run on this team. And what the Eagles should do is what they should do most games this year, and is just act like you're the Ravens or the Lions and just run the ball straight down their throat. Just keep on giving it to Saquon. After he scores a few touchdowns, maybe give it to someone else. But run the ball, play action pass, deep shots to A.J. Brown. Of course, the Eagles haven't really done play action pass this year, which is too bad. But I would like a heavy emphasis with Saquon Barkley because there is weaknesses within the Bengals rush defense. For example, in week 1, you saw Ramondre Stevenson destroy them, and he's not even that good. If they started off and let's say the Bengals put up some points early on in the game, then yes, I do think Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown are good enough, of course, to beat the mediocre corners and DBs of the Bengals. I don't think the Eagles should have any trouble this week scoring points. Jalen Hurts, you need to not turn the ball over. Can't have any fumbles. We can't give this Bengals offense more opportunities, or it could get ugly. But if they just go down the field slow and controlled, I think they shouldn't have that much difficulty, other than the first quarter, of course, where the Eagles are the worst team in the NFL. If you like the video so far, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting down below. But back to the video. Now to the Bengals offense versus the Eagles defense. So this is where the Bengals have the advantage, I guess. Joe Burrow. He is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. Jammar Chase is a top 5 wide receiver. T. Higgins is a top 5 number 2 wide receiver. But he's very good as well, and when they're both on the field, Jammar Chase plays even better. This will be a huge challenge for Slay and Quinion Mitchell. Can they guard these people? Does Cooper DeJean guard Higgins sometimes? We'll see. The Eagles' corners have looked excellent the past 2 weeks. Again, they haven't let up a touchdown. But these are next level wide receivers and a next level quarterback. This is the real test for if Vic Fangio has figured out this defense or if it's some fool's gold. And as far as the offensive line goes for pass protection, it's not very good. Joe Burrow does get the ball out quick sometimes, so it kind of hides it. But I think it's just not a great offensive line, especially with it being a little banged up. It's better than the Giants' offensive line, and it's not Deshaun Watson running into sacks. So we'll see if the Eagles' defensive line actually has things figured out or not. They had 6 sacks through the first 4 games of the season. Then against the Browns, they got 5 sacks, and against the Giants, they had 6. So they've tripled it in the past 2 weeks. And while they have looked a lot better on the defensive line, especially the pass rush, it's a little hard to tell. Are they better? Has Josh Sweat remembered how to play? Is Nolan Smith making it to the next level? Is Bryce Huff an NFL player? Or are we just playing against terrible teams, terrible quarterbacks, terrible offensive lines, and they're just feasting on that? This is a big test. If they can sack Joe Burrow 4 times, the Eagles' defensive line is finally where we expected them to be. If not, then we're a bit questioning it once again, and we'll probably question it throughout the year if they don't figure it out now. Then on the running side of the ball, the Bengals don't have a very good rushing offense. Chase Brown is the better running back out of the two between Zach Moss and Chase Brown, but he's not outstanding. He's not like a crazy great rookie or young NFL running back. He's just decent. If this was the Eagles' defensive performance from a few weeks ago, where they just leave wide open holes, then yes, he is quick. He can burst through them and devastate the Eagles on the running game. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's good enough. The offensive line isn't good enough when in comparison with an improving Eagles defense. So that's kind of my broad breakdown. But I guess more of a what do I think will happen in general. I see 2 ways that this game goes out. Well, I guess, 2 main ways. How do the Bengals win this game? The Bengals win this game by having turnovers and big plays on offense. They win through splash plays this week against the Eagles. The Eagles can win either slowly grinding this victory out through the run game and just, old school football. Or the Eagles, of course, can do splash plays of their own with their offensive weapons. Saquan Barkely can score a 60-yard touchdown at any point. So can A.J. Brown. So can Devontae Smith. But so can Jammar Chase. So, kind of what I'm trying to say is I think the Eagles should be favored in this game. I think they are the better team. But you cannot doubt Joe Burrow and Jammar Chase. They can win any game. They can win the Super Bowl. They can beat the Chiefs. They can also lose to the Patriots. So, I'm just kind of talking about why this is a close game. But in general, what do I think will happen? I think the Eagles will win this in a mid-scoring game. I think this will be 31-27 Eagles victory. I think the Eagles get out to I think the Eagles will fall behind in the first quarter. Then they will explode in the second and third quarter, get up to 31, be up by, 10 or 14 points. Then the Bengals will fight their way back, but will not make it all the way, leading to an Eagles victory, but not a stressless victory. I am a realistic Eagles fan. I do not think we will get 2 blowouts in a row, but who knows? It might happen. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below, and I will see you later.